Hello and welcome to our video, where we, Magdalena and Nina, will discuss culture and culture diversity. We will start by explaining the concept of culture and why it is important to be aware of cultural differences by applying various theories. Thereafter, we will link it to our own cultural background and personal experiences, as well as explaining the importance within the hospitality industry. So Nina, what is culture?
Well, Hofstede defines culture as the collective programming of the mind, which distinguishes the members of one group or category of people from another.
And Matsumoto gives us further understanding by saying that culture is the set of attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors shared by a group of people, but different for each individual, communicated from one generation to the next.
So both of us are from Sweden and we have very similar backgrounds. But what are the characteristics of Sweden? We typically have a low power distance and value shared responsibility at work, and delegation is often practiced. We are an individualistic country, which can be compared to Trompenaars' individualism, Schwartz's autonomy, as well as Hall's low context culture.
We are a very feminine and equal society, where achievement rather than ascribed titles is more important, which relates back to the low power distance. We are a country that value life quality and are ranked high in indulgence, which can be linked with Schwartz's effective autonomy.
I believe that this is an accurate picture of Sweden.
I agree to a certain extent, but don't forget that theories are generalizing and that you may find differences when looking into different parts of Sweden and also comparing the city to the countryside and different generations.
Yes, Hofstede did the research in the 1970s, and since then there has been both political and economic changes in Sweden affecting the culture. At that time we had a change in government, and the deep recession in the beginning of the 1990s has had great impact on the society. We have also experienced an increase in immigration, and they bring in other cultures to the Swedish society.
Jones also says that Hofstede's theory is outdated and only focuses on one company, which can be a bit biased, and that he also assumes that the domestic population is homogeneous and does not differentiate between, for example, age and gender.
Well, you have to remember that the theories are demonstrating a generalized view of the different cultures.
Yes, and for us, the generalized picture is actually correct, as both of us are great examples of the individualistic society, as we moved away from home at the age of 15.
Yeah, did you know that Sweden has the highest ratio of single households in the EU, over 40%?
Oh really? I moved because the education I was looking for was not available in the town where I grew up.
Oh, I moved from Stockholm to fulfill my dream to be a part of the best team in synchronized ice skating.
Wow, that was very hedonistic of you.
Well, you too. But which school did you go to?
I studied tourism at Burgården.
What? I also went to Budgården. So what did you think about the school?
I found it to be quite good, but I've heard that the school struggles with a lot of problems.
Yeah, I believe my class was one of those problems. It is a very multicultural and segregated school. In my class we were only 5 Swedes among 35 students.
Oh wow, how was that?
Well, there were a lot of cultural shocks, even though we lived in the same country. Most of them were from the Middle East, which is much more masculine, collectivist and universalistic culture. I felt that many of them did not hesitate to bend the rules, and unlike us Swedes, they were much more emotional and open about their feelings. I also experienced that when I was working as a team leader at McDonald's, working with many immigrants. Their culture is much tougher and more masculine than what we are used to.
Oh, so how did you manage to lead them?
Well, of course it was a challenge. I think both sides had to adapt. I got a bit tougher and they a bit calmer. After all, they lived in Sweden, so they were well aware of the culture, even though they had a mixed one.
Yes, I also experienced cultural differences when I went for my internship in Dubai.
Yeah, I can imagine. UAE is a very masculine country with high power distance.
Yes, definitely. It is a big difference from Sweden. I noticed that the managers are solely responsible rather than the team, which is the case in Sweden.
Oh, couldn't that be connected to the internal and external direction according to Trompenaars?
Yeah, exactly. And the corporate culture is more hierarchical and descriptive, and it is seen as very disrespectful to skip levels in the hierarchy.
Okay, but how did you perceive the Arabic culture in Dubai?
Well, it's very difficult to say because in Dubai there are so many different cultures and only 13% of the population in UAE are UAE nationals, which means that it's very difficult to generalize. But because I did a lot of research about the culture in Dubai before I went there, I reduced the risk of cultural shocks, unlike a friend of mine who was there at the same time and did not do the research and experienced misunderstandings and had difficulties understanding and accepting the different culture.
But I've heard that Dubai is one of the most liberal Arabic cities in the world. Did you notice that?
Yes, Dubai can be very modern with innovative architecture, increased business and developed infrastructure, but at the same time very traditional when it comes to cultural traditions and religion, such as Ramadan.
That sounds like Hofstede's pragmatism. But I've noticed that UAE does not have any scores on that dimension.
Yes, I would say that it could probably be the only dimension where we would have similar scores, as all of the other dimensions are so different from each other. They are holding on to their traditions, but are also very innovative and modern, especially in Dubai. It is important to understand that Dubai is very different from some of the other 6 Emirates. At the same time, it is not 100% reliable to look at Hofstede's dimensions regarding the UAE, as the country has changed a lot since the study was conducted. This change is mainly a result of the economic growth due to oil and trade.
I guess that can be compared to Schwartz harmony and embeddedness, which I believe I can also see here at ACHMS. Or what do you think?
Yes, I agree.
We are from a very autonomous culture compared to the Asians, who are the majority here, and their culture is much more embedded. I can definitely see that they have a higher power distance. For me, it is still a bit strange to address the teachers with title and surname. Some even expect us to say sir.
Yes, I know it's not really what we are used to, but perhaps some will see us as disrespectful then.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually. Our cultures are very different. But how do you feel about the uniforms?
Well, even though I was aware of it before coming here, I still find it to be a bit strange, since this is very uncommon in Sweden.
At least we can say that we have experienced different cultures and learned a lot. But what are the benefits for us?
Yeah, let's come to a conclusion. In the 21st century, one of the most important trends affecting the workforce in the hospitality industry is the increased diversity. A more diverse workforce leads to increased creativity, and hiring minorities will help organizations to tap into those niche markets and entering the international arena.
Yes, studies by Catalyst shows that companies with a more diverse management achieve better financial results than others. A pro-diversity work climate is also correlated with a lower staff turnover. To be able to manage effectively in a multicultural environment, you need to recognize the differences and learn how to use them to your advantage. Rather than ignoring the differences and allowing them to cause problems, one should respect the similarities and work with them to be able to maximize the contribution of each employee.
Generalizing the cultures can help, but one must not forget to see the different needs of individuals. There is a link between cultural and emotional intelligence, and a critical element that both cultural and emotional intelligence share is a propensity to suspend judgment, to think before acting. So by understanding cultures, one can benefit from the differences. However, one may encounter problems as communication can become more difficult with the different languages and cultures. Diversity can also increase ambiguity, complexity, and confusion.
But one can avoid problems like that through training. Cross-cultural training aims to help employees live and work comfortably in another culture and also sensitizing them to the discrimination that diverse employees might feel. There are several different techniques for cross-cultural training. Environmental briefings is to provide information about the history, government, and economy. Orientation in culture, where one familiarizes the employees with different cultures. And language training.
So, to sum everything up, cultural diversity is very important and can give many benefits if managed correctly within the hospitality industry.
So that was all from us. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope that you found it interesting.